AdVice, where we normally drink whiskey. However, it's 11 a.m., so we will be drinking coffee today. My name is Brittany Degnan, and I'm here with my co-host, Dave Teller. And today we're going to be talking with Greg Wasserman, who is the head of relationships at RSS.com. And I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell us what he's all about.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's actually 8 a.m. for me since I'm in LA, so definitely not having whiskey this morning. But yeah, head of relationships at RSS.com. I've been here now 4 months, and but my background is in media sales. Did that for about 15 years before moving the last 4 years into podcasting. So it's been a great journey, and I get to work with amazing partners like yourself and help podcasters around the world.
Awesome. Okay, great. So we've been talking a little bit beforehand about marketing, about what you do at RSS.com and how you help podcasters. So how do you explain the role of a podcast in content strategy to a business owner who's only ever focused on ads or blogs, or as Dave was talking about earlier, webinars?
I love this question because for me, I truly believe podcasting is the greatest marketing and business development tool when you treat it as a strategy for that. And so let's break it down. Every business and every person, if you had a podcast and you stopped thinking about downloads and you started treating it as how do I go ahead and have conversations with my existing customers or prospects that I would never be able to. You could sit here all day and as a marketing agency, you get it. You can do paid ads and so forth. But like I'm in sales. So if I want to go ahead and try and cold call and get, let's say your agency, hey, I'm trying to sell you. My background's in media sales. I want to try and sell you. How many emails, how many calls, how much work are you already doing that you're just delete or you're like your inbox is just inundated? But if I sent a message saying, hey, Brittany, Dave, I would love to bring you on my podcast, most likely you're going to go, oh, this person's interested in not only talking to me, but promoting me. That changes the entire dynamic. Now I'm actually able to start a relationship with this person. I do an intro call. There's 30 minutes with them, getting to know them. I do the recording. There's an hour. And now I've literally have an hour and a half with a person that I tried cold calling, tried cold emailing all day, and was actually to bring them on to my show. If you do that 50 times, whether it's existing relationships, you get the testimonial conversations, or you've got the prospects that you're bringing on, and now your job is to make this person look good. You're having this great conversation. You're connecting with them. And then you have to empower them to market you, which is marketing themselves after the show, to their network. So if you look at that as a business development avenue and the structure, I've now got 50 conversations where 50 people are promoting me, my know, like, and trust is being built, my business with their market. And then it's my job to go ahead and market them to my market. So I'm helping them. And so it's this amazing symbiotic relationship. And then the best thing is, back to your point about marketing, I now have all this content. My job isn't just to record this conversation, edit it, and then publish it, and then go on to the next one. No, it's how do I turn all these conversations into different pieces of content that I can leverage to build my know, like, and trust, to market my business, to provide more value to people. Working in sales, I hated it when marketing was always like, here's the white paper, here's the case study, please go tell that. That's just sales jargon. No buyer buys because they're like, hey, give me your case study, give me your white paper. But they will buy because I brought someone who's an expert in their field onto my show, and I'm like, hey, here's what X expert said. Here's a quote that this person said. You're like, oh, I respect that person, and they came on your show and they're talking to your company. So that's why I say having a podcast for every business with a strategy around the guest, the experience, and the content becomes your greatest flex.
Okay. I'm curious on Dave's take on that, only because for our marketing agency, we do a lot of search engine marketing, which SEO, things like that.
Yeah, they used to say content is king. I'd say more specifically now, video content is king. SEO is still a big piece of online marketing, but as business interactions, client interactions become increasingly more online, People want to see the more real you, which they can't get through words or pictures of you. They want to see how you act in real time via, video. So that element, on top of now the search engines are getting better and better about categorizing and searching video content. TikTok is now one of the biggest search engines in the world. Video content is the greenest pastures for growing businesses.
Yeah. I mean, our company, I joined here 4 months ago. We're the 7th largest. SEO has been our bread and butter, not only just the domain name rss.com, and it is associated with the RSS feed, which is what you need for podcasting. But our head of marketing, shout out Brian, like he's done an amazing job from an SEO standpoint. And they brought me on board because my whole role is about relationships. It's like, all right, with AIO, with SEO changing, I'm now diving deeper into Reddit and being authentic. Like, this is what I love about podcasting is you can't be fake. Like, this is who I am, whether you love me or hate me. This is my voice. This is what I look like at 8 in the morning, right? So this is the authentic me. And if you think about it from a brand building standpoint, we could look at, can you name the CEOs of 3 auto companies? Most likely you can't, but you can go and tell me that Elon Musk and tied to Tesla. Most people aren't going to be able to tell you who those are. Why? Because he spent so much time building a brand. Love him or hate him, take away anything in that regard, you can at least say, I know this person. So the brand building component is huge, and you get that from podcasting. And as Dave was saying, video. I mean, in this sense, this is what I love about podcasting. We're recording right now remote. So I can take this, put this onto whatever video platforms, chop it up and make whatever clips I want, and then take this audio component, put it on your rss.com account that you've got with us, and have the audio. And that way people can consume the content. If I take myself back to the school days, it's been a while, but people want to engage with the content in a way that makes sense for them. So you mentioned TikTok. Great. That's where people are going to go from that standpoint. Is that going to drive people to listen to your podcast? No, it's a very different model in that regards, but it's building your brand. It's building your know, like, and trust. So being able to have your content, record it once, this conversation, and turned into all these different pieces of content. Now you've got your SEO, your AIO, you're building your brand, you're repurposing that across your social channels, you're building that across your YouTube channel, you're building it across your audio, your podcast. You've covered all bases with just this 1 hour conversation. And from a business standpoint, you're building a relationship. And that's the key piece. People want to know, like, as you said, you want to, your authenticity is there. Now I've got that coming from this.
Yeah, we always used to preach, people connect with people. They want to see the people in their ads. They want to be able to connect with people. Like you said, the authenticity is there. They want to know that the person that they're going to do business with is real. That's a huge piece of building that trust and that confidence.
Mm-hmm. I do want to go over a little bit of that because you touched on that piece of the AIO and the AEO, right? So I am curious, and this might not be your bread and butter, but it is my bread and butter. How does the RSS feed, if you know, and YouTube and any other way that the videos are put out, how does that affect AIO and AEO?
I mean, it can speak to the fact that, like, I see our marketing team is constantly talking about, it's like, wow, we did a search and look at X video showing up, or you do a search and it's like, look at Greg's now showing up in as I speak more as a representative of the company, those are coming up and doing a, best podcast or how to start a podcast. And we've done an amazing job, once again, from a company standpoint, on getting the content out there. So our content engine is constantly being able to build into what the search engines or what the social media engines are ultimately searching for. So I think it is, the winners are going to be the consistency, and that I think is also right. So if we look at, if I just did one video and posted it, am I really going to, even the old school ways of just SEO, one piece of content is not all of a sudden going to, even if it's viral, most likely it's probably not. And so the joys of having a podcast is that's 52 conversations, that's 52 pieces of content alone without the chopping up that I'm getting out there and getting my brand out there. so that when people are doing a search, they're like, who's this Greg guy? Or in the case for your agency, it's like, where should I get my, what's a good marketing agency? Why should I? And then it's going to be able to look at all that kind of details.
Awesome. Yeah, and I agree with you. There's more and more platforms are starting to be on search engines. So it's really interesting because more and more are going to come up in those AI snippets when you're searching. And so the more video you have, the more likely that you are going to come up in that AI snippet when you search, or even if you're searching for on ChatGPT, on Gemini, whatever else. The more you have, the more likely you are going to be to rank on those search engines as well.
That's a huge point, Brittany, because Instagram just opened it up. LinkedIn, so Microsoft did it a bit ago. So it used to be these closed circles systems, and then all of a sudden I'm starting to do a search and I'm seeing LinkedIn posts. I'm like, great! I've been posting on LinkedIn for the last 4 years consistently daily, and so my content is now showing up there. And most of my content, let's be truth be told, is from me guesting on people's podcasts because I know I work in podcasting. I don't have one myself. I guess as we said offline, right? Do as I say, not as I do. But yeah, right. But like that's it. The fact that those platforms are now opening up so that you can be searched, or in the AIO at the top of a Google search, or as you said, in just AI overall.
Mm-hmm.
This is now content is king. If I can turn this one video, this one recording, this one podcast into 100 pieces of content.
See, and that's where I wanted to jump into, because for the longest time, the question I get from clients a lot of times is, should we be advertising on YouTube? Should we be advertising on TikTok? And my answer to them every time is, if you have the engine to produce the video content on a regular enough basis to optimize that channel, great, go for it. Most small businesses, even medium-sized businesses, can't afford to produce video content at the rate that they need for those channels to work. But podcasting is a very efficient way to get a lot of clips. And if you know what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
then there's a lot of ways to chop it up to get pieces that work really well, and there's a lot to test and optimize.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you stated the should I advertise on YouTube? In this case, that's different than just creating content and having it. Advertising would be like a 30-second commercial. And it's like, no, I mean, unless you're trying to target and you do all the targeting that you need on here, it's all organic, and I can then maybe boost that, right? We've always got the side of boosting content, so I can go. One of my favorite things that I love coaching podcasters on is, once again, you get 50 people that are coming on as a guest. I'm not saying you're doing the pay to play guesting kind of piece, but you can use your guests to boost your content. So you can actually spend money and go, you know what? Because background in podcasting, there's so many platforms out there of how do I grow my podcast, or how do I grow the video views, or whatever the platform is. But in this case, how do I grow my podcast? I can say, I'm going to spend some money. My former company, that's literally the program I built, is I'm going to spend some money. I can turn to my guest and go, hey, guest, you're coming on my show. I'm going to give you access to my audience. But truth be told, I spent some money to boost it so I can get more of an audience. Would you be willing to spend some money so we can boost your episode? If you do that 50 times, guarantee you 4 of them will say yes. And out of those 4, 1 will find success and be like, wow, this show really started succeeding, because now they're putting some media budget to their actual content that they produce to talk about whatever it is that they're probably having this great conversation. And that's building their know, like, and trust. And like, hold on, instead of me just doing a 30-second commercial, I can boost my recording of people getting to know and like and trust me. Great, I'll do that all day. And so it becomes an amazing growth engine as well as the content engine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think to Dave's point, or I should say, you're talking a lot about media, paid media, right? So where does that fit into the mix when you're promoting podcast content? Like, what are you meaning by that?
So there's, just like I can go ahead and boost a Instagram ad or a Facebook ad, right? Or I can go ahead and just do pay-per-click on uh, Google or my former company, Yahoo, right? Like, you can go ahead and do some paid media in here, but this is content. So I can go ahead and boost a podcast. So former company, Player FM, I built the platform. It's a listening platform. 2 million people that are actually downloading that. And so when you think about it, no one comes to you and says, hey, Dave, Brittany, how many downloads does this podcast have? First off, if you're running a business only podcast, no one's going to care about that because you're not trying to become a media company. The goal, of course, is to grow it. But at the end of the day, you're using this as an engine for content and not so much, how do I make myself a viral sensation and become the next Joe Rogan?
So that's
Table.
what you're saying, that like understanding essentially what the KPIs are. That's where you're saying a lot of people misunderstand kind of from the get-go.
Yes. I spend most of my days trying to help people understand, unless you want to be a media company,
Mhm.
that is a very different. If you're trying to be a media company, A, act like a media company. B, the way you make money is then through ads. If you are a business owner, which is what we are, which is who you are and what your audience the listing here is, you're not trying to be a media company. You're not trying to get a sponsor to go ahead and pay you a $20 CPM, cost per thousand. So that means you have to get 1,000 downloads just to make $20. Theoretically, it's not really true, but we won't go into CPM math and advertising math. But your job is, how do I go ahead and get new clients? If you got one client out of a year's worth of 52 conversations, the money of what you're spending to pay your agency to produce this and so forth, I usually tell people $30,000 to $50,000 is an average for a agency to go ahead and do it. So if you can go ahead and get a couple clients to pay an agency to do that for you, and you're getting all this content, you're building your know, like, and trust, and you're getting other people to tell others about yourself, that is well worth the $30,000 to $50,000 to have someone produce this. You can do it in-house if you want it, but let's go back to your question about paid media. So I can go ahead and pay Player FM as a player. I've got 2 million listeners. You download the platform, and that is far different of an audience than Apple and Spotify, which come preloaded on your phone. So this means this is a person who really cares about podcasts because they've taken the effort to download something else. And we've got a massive audience with Player FM. So I can go ahead and spend between $1,000 and $9,000 to have my show promoted to this audience of active podcast listeners in a podcast listening platform, which will then help me grow my show. Now, that is just one form. There's a couple that do that, but like I can go ahead, just like you can boost a Facebook ad, you can go ahead and do paid media saying, I want to take this ad, my podcast, and promote it to the ICP, the core audience that I want. There's platforms you can do that. Once again, you're able to, how do I take this content and find my niche audience depending on how you want to pay for it?
I've actually got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So the format of podcasting has been fairly similar for the last decade. Do you see the style of podcasting changing, let's say, in the next 5 years in any way?
So I think from a podcast standpoint, of course, while I work for RSS.com, I'd be foolish not to admit the elephant in the room that everyone talks about from video. We're recording the StreamYard for video and cut it up. So the question is what is a podcast? I've talked to people and they're like, oh, I've got a podcast. I'm like, I can't find you on any of the listing platforms. Like, oh yeah, I'm only on YouTube. I'm like, so you're not a podcaster. You're really just a vlogger, which is now the new thing. So if we think about if you're only doing a YouTube video, how's that different than just vlogging before? But now podcasting, quote unquote, is the cool word. So everyone's like, oh, I've got a podcast. So we're riding that wave. Before it was vlogger, I'm a vlogger. And you literally see in LinkedIn people talking about their titles as a vlogger. Now they're like, oh, I'm changing it to a podcast. From a podcast standpoint, the question is, where is podcasting going in the next 5 years? RSS.com, company I work for, is really into the new features. So there's movement called Podcast 2.0. Terribly branded because many that are entering the industry are like, I didn't even know what 1.0 is. This is different to me. But Podcast 2.0 is incredible because it's now opening up different functionalities. So how do I go ahead and make money? So you've got the donation tag that can be added to your RSS. We have the location tag. So I love that. You guys are in, I think, Charlotte. So if your show was only trying to get trying to get people in the Charlotte area, and we're a Charlotte business, you can literally tag in your RSS feed location, Charlotte. So if people were then doing a search for things to do in Charlotte or Charlotte businesses, going back to anyone that's listening here, if your business is niche in a geographic area, you can add a tag into your RSS feed that says we're in Charlotte. So we're working on all these different functionalities to improve targeting, improve functionalities for podcasting. So I think as a collective industry, many of us are coming together to figure out how do we improve the searchability, the discoverability, the functionality of what's in a sense a very, I mean, RSS stands for real simple syndication. So it's a simple kind of function, but how do we add complexity to it? I guess when I think about what you're looking at from a listener behavior standpoint, goes back to, am I trying to be a media company, or am I trying to create content and think about this as my content engine? And so if I'm so focused on, are people making it through 80% of this podcast recording? Or is it just a matter of, you know what, they're looking at all of my content that I'm being able to put out there and the audience that I'm being able to grow? So we look at, of course, RSS.com, our analytics are able to provide you the overall downloads of what's happening. It's a closed system, so we don't get the listening behavior. You're going to have to log into your Apple account and see, you know, how long people are listening to data from that standpoint. Unfortunately, that's just where the industry is. As much as I'm new to it, as much as we want to try and push, hey, give us those analytics, it's kind of hard to get from Apple. They don't want to share that. I've got friends that work for Amazon's agency, and Amazon's agency isn't even getting the first party data. It's like, hold on, we're your agency. So it's always funny to see who's sharing and what's not being shared. But I could say for business owners that are using podcast as a engine for their business, you're not focusing on the downloads. You can look at it from a, are we growing? Are people listening? But ultimately you're looking at, are people knowing you? As you're building your know, like, and trust? Are you opening doors that you didn't have doors open to before? Are you able to use this medium? Can I literally say for an hour's conversation, can I sit down with Dave and Brittany and go, you know what? I get an hour. Ask me all the questions that my customers would be asking me, so that I've got all the answers. So people now know, like, and trust me as the answer to those questions. And all that content I'm able to slice up and go, all right, you have a question? Here's the answer that I've now recorded and it's put out there. Here's all the best practices. That's the biggest thing from a business owner standpoint. It's, once again, you're not a media company. So should I be going, did people make it to 80% of the way through of my podcast? Not everyone's going to listen. We're recording this on a Friday. I always love this story. There's a podcaster. Every Thursday, he sends out a newsletter. I'm good friends with him, and I tell him this all the time. I'm like, I love you, Ryan, but I don't listen to your podcast. But I can't wait for your newsletter on Thursdays. He gets 3 minutes of my time every Thursday because I can't wait for that. And what's at the bottom of that newsletter? Here's the most recent episode of his podcast with who his guest is. Because I love his newsletter, I forward that on to many people. I've even used his newsletter as my LinkedIn content and created content around that. So he's building his know, like, and trust based on recording this podcast. It doesn't matter that I'm listening to it or not. He's building that know, like, and trust, which I'm then forwarding on. I'm sharing with other people. Like, you're not going to get that from any other medium because I'm too busy trying to think about marketing. I'm like, what are the questions you've got? What are people trying to answer? I'll be your person. You guys record it, and we were able to get that out there. And so once again, you're not looking at about the downloads.
Okay.
For
That is good information.
everyone's listening, I'm getting both of them shaking their heads, and they're giving me head nods here. So I'm like, all right, I said something right here.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, especially thinking of the closed analytics system, because so many businesses are going to want those analytics.
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to what he's saying, though, is understanding what you're trying to do with the podcasting. If you're not a media company, those direct analytics really should not be your KPIs.
Right.
It's probably something maybe a little less statistical,
Mm-hmm.
and I've talked with these clients as well. It's how many different ways are you leveraging that podcast content that you're creating.
Right.
Are you using it on your website? Are you using it in your newsletter, in your ads? Are you, clipping it out into your organic socials? If you're spending the time and or the money to build that content, leverage it as much as possible. It's essentially break it down into as many pieces as you can, use it on as many platforms. So that is one way that I do look at more of leveraging the resource creation rather than treating it more like a marketing initiative.
Right. And I mean, because podcasting can be expensive as well. So I'm just going to plug in our studio here. There's studios over, all over where you can, rent the actual studio, like Witcraft, where we're at right now. And actually, we are in Columbia, South Carolina, not Charlotte. However, our marketing agency is in Charlotte as well. And then we have another studio in Kannapolis, North Carolina, which is near Charlotte. But one of our benefits for our marketing agency is our clients can use our studios for free, and then they can leverage all of that content that they get for their marketing. So I think that's a cool thing that we do offer as well.
And I'll touch on that. If you can, I mean, we're doing this remote. I'm in LA. You guys are out there in the East Coast, right? But like, if you have the ability, once again, to bring a client into a studio, meet them face to face, have this production. I mean, if anyone's not been into a studio, I recommend just calling up these two and going like, hey, I want to just see what this looks like. Like, it is a unique, amazing, but also at the same time you realize, hold on, this is what it looks like. Like, it seems so much bigger on camera, and like that's the joys of it. But like the environment that you get by being in a studio with someone, it's nerve-wracking at first. You'll get over those butterflies. You've got professionals here that are there to help you and calm you down. Tech stuff happens, like we all get that. And you're like, all right, the production will be there, but it's far worth it to go ahead and take your client, bring him in. I mean, think about it. I'm going to take my client out, or I'm trying to go to their office. It's like, hey, let's come to the studio. Once again, business development. How do you build the know, like, and trust? How do you build your professional appearance? That's going to really go a long way. I mean, the biggest thing I end up finding out is do the basics. So I guess actually let's take the step back. First off is too many people try and get the perfect mics, the perfect setup, the perfect perfection, right? I've talked to so many people like, I've been researching this for 4 years and I finally just decided to do it. I'm like, well, the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time to start today, right? So in the podcasting space, consistency is key. So if that person would have started poorly 4 years ago, think about where they would be now 4 years later had they actually started accordingly. So great, you're starting now. Now you got to play the 4-year catch up. But if you're consistently doing it, that's where you win. And if we're looking at this, once again, everyone I'm speaking to is from a business development, business opportunity. I'm not looking at this as a hobby. I'm not looking at this as a media company. Everyone that's probably listening, this is a business. So start today, whether you hire your firm, right, WiT, or you just go and do all the different free tools and paid tools that you've got out there, just start. The second thing I'd say is do the basics. When I mean that, I see too often, and this is why I love what I do from the RSS Slacks community, because the basics are think about your titles, descriptions, and marketing. Most people, if we can think about it, you're a business owner, you're probably not the best marketer. That's why you're hiring your agency to go ahead and help you with the marketing. But too often people screw up the titles, descriptions. And what I mean by that is they're putting the episode numbers the first thing that people see. They're like, hey, episode number X. And then their description is on this next episode of whatever the show is. If it's packaging, if we think about it, I went to a grocery store and I saw terrible packaging. I'm not going to buy it. That's your title of the description. Ooh, I like this packaging. I bought it. I went home and it tastes terrible. That's your sound quality. So if your sound quality is not there, people are going to tune out and you're not even getting. If we go back to the comment I said, if we don't care how many people are listening to your show because you're using this as a marketing channel, this is your brand. You still want the packaging to look good. You still want the quality of the sound to sound good because that means you care and no one wants to buy from someone they know, like, and trust if you're not putting in the good packaging and a good product. It doesn't have to be the best. It doesn't have to be amazing. It just has to be good enough that someone wants to go, you know what? I like Dave. I'm going to call him up because he looks good. He puts out good content, and I'm really interested. So those are the three things I could say really focus on. The rest is strategy, but we've already talked about strategy.
Actually, on that last point, I mean, personally, I would consider audio even more important than video. Would you say that's the case?
Audio quality, yes. Most people, if you think about it, if you are watching something, quote unquote, watching, you're still listening. It's in the background. So it's not going to be this amazing, oh, wow, this looked amazing, but it sounds terrible. No, I'm still not going to want to listen to it. So yeah, I would say audio quality is definitely going to be your key.
Yep. So focus on that first, then work on the video quality after that. Excellent.
Awesome. Well, this has been very insightful, especially since, we kind of started this saying, do as I say, not as I do. And you're telling me about optimizing titles and descriptions, and I don't know that I've been doing that so well, even though I am our resident SEO. So I'm definitely going to have to look at that more so for our podcast. So thank you for that advice. But it's been a great episode. Greg, tell everyone where they can find you.
Well, I live on LinkedIn, so once again, do as you say, not as you do. I don't have a website. Our website is rss.com. For anyone listening, since you guys are customers, great. Like, I'll give you guys a free month. Promo code RSS, get started. We'll give you a month free. As we've met, first initiative here was starting our Slack communities, the RSS space. I'm posting all the time best practices. So if Brittany, you've got a moment, start reading our entire growth and strategy channel, and you'll start understanding some other best practices on how to optimize. And then you've got a community here. So I live there. I live on LinkedIn. But I think the greatest gift you can give to anyone in the podcasting space is, if something resonated, either reach out to the host or reach out to the guest and say, I found this content of value, or thank you for whatever it is you said. Because the joys about podcasting is we can get our message out there, but most of the time we feel like we're talking to a void. And so the feedback you're able to provide to someone is the great piece. And so if you found this good, hit me up. I love talking to anyone.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, please like, subscribe, and follow us here on AdVice, and we will see you next time.